We're live now with KayStoner, and we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and her experience. We see we've got some joining already. Clancy Steadwell's here. Nilüfer Neubert's here, and I'll be watching the comments for UK while you introduce yourself and tell us what it's all about.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. My name is KayStoner. I have been in technology, over 30 years. Started out as a tech writer, but I mean, it's been a long and winding road, but now I build relational AI. I architect co-intelligence systems that are hybrids of AI working with AI and AI working with people. And I have on the surface, it's deceptively simple, but under the surface, there's a lot going on. And it really leverages my experience with writing, my experience with organizational stuff, my experience of, project management for 25 years, as well as being a developer and writing code since 1995. So this time I've worked predominantly, earned my bread and butter basically with online search, both internal and external, and in information and connecting people with the information that they need to live better, work better, and be better. So that's really been my bread and butter. And now with AI is the ideal medium for real living people to engage with real living information and really take that understanding to the completely next level.
Well, that's fascinating. You were going back to something that also is my background, reading the World Book Encyclopedia.
Yes.
And how information was there, in these tomes, and we could just pull it off the shelf and read it cover to cover. I did that with 1966 50th anniversary of the World Book Encyclopedia, as I recall,
Yeah,
that my father had acquired at great expense.
I know.
He was a research historian down in Colonial Williamsburg at the time.
Mm, mm.
We're living in this little ranch house in outside of Williamsburg near the airport they have there. It's not much of an airport, by the way, but if you ever go out there, it's a good restaurant. Anyhow, um, you also mentioned being a technical writer. I stumbled into that. I was doing database design for the Warhol Museum in
Okay.
Pittsburgh
Nice.
as part of the conservation staff of the Carnegie Museum of Art. And then I got into a conversation through a thing called 6degrees.com. Did you encounter 6 Degrees in
Yes.
1998, 1999?
Yes, I dimly remember it.
Right.
It's
96 or
been
95. You
all the
said
other stuff, yeah.
95, you said you built your first website. I
Yeah.
built my first in 96 on
Yeah, yeah.
Pine, through Unix Pine,
Oh.
hand coding it. How did you do it?
I did it with I was managing the word processing department of a law firm in Boston.
Uh-huh.
And as I was riding the T back and forth to work every day, I'm thinking, "Surely there is a better way to earn a living than this."
I see.
I had gotten into the internet, like a couple years before because where I was living in Northern California, the local library had a fat pipe to Sonoma State University. And so I would spend all day Saturday on their Gopher servers searching everything. And I also did some work for O'Reilly and Associates when they were putting together
All right.
in a box. And I didn't work directly on that, but I heard about it and I was working on other projects and I got some early exposure to that. So in 95, I'm riding back and forth to work and I printed out a hard copy, as one did back in the day, on my dot matrix printer, of the Bare Guide to HTML. And I studied that back and forth, rode back and forth a half an hour to and from work every morning, every evening. And then as soon as I got home, I was in there doing HTML and CSS when it came out and JavaScript. I built a little JavaScript calculator for all my compadres at work because after doing that for about a year and a half, I landed a job with a pretty big company that was looking to insource their web development because they're paying much to the consultants. So I'll do it. Sure, and like nobody knew it. I mean, all anybody knew was how to spell HTML. They didn't really know anything about it. Recruiters are like trying to hire me for SQL jobs, SQL. I don't know what SQL is, but can you do it? But yeah, I just really got into that, and I taught myself. I'm self-taught, and I didn't even need. I didn't, I had, as everybody did. Well, I didn't have CompuServe, but I had an AOL dial-up connection. Apparently, it's going away soon.
Yeah.
But I found that I didn't need to be online in order to build web pages. I could just do it locally. I could look at it locally, just bring it up in the browser. And so I basically learned, offline, but because the browser was there, you could see everything that it did. And we didn't have all the dependencies and the frameworks that you have now. So
Right.
that's what I learned. Yeah.
Yeah, I also, hand coded my stuff,
Yes. As
and then
we did.
found hyperlinks, so it's just like a page of
Yeah.
pictures, and you can still find it on
Yeah.
archive.org, which is
Nice.
lovely,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. The way back
And then, I moved to Denmark to be a technical writer for a small web software firm
Mhm.
that thought that people didn't wanna make their own web pages and
Oh,
insource that. They
yeah.
wanted to have a web content management system to
Right.
separate their presentation from their content.
Right.
And so they just said, well, a database will do that and the back end.
Yeah.
And they thought they were like the only ones with this idea when I arrived as employee number 13. My first
Right.
job, I felt, was to research,
Yeah.
right? Dig in and find out who's doing what out there. What's our competition look like? And
Right.
I found Vignette and
Right.
Interwoven
Right.
were already eating our lunch.
Right.
And we were in Denmark selling to a few little things like commune data, which
Yeah.
was like the government websites. And so we had some successful reference customers but we
Yeah.
didn't expand out of Denmark. I
Right.
moved
Yeah.
in 2002. They flew me over to Chicago to talk with a small firm up in Libertyville.
Yeah.
And they had value, what do they call it? Value something vendors out there that would, take up their software offerings and cooperate with them
Oh,
around the
VAR,
country.
value
And we had,
sellers, the value-added resellers.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And if
VAR.
we had tapped into that network,
Right.
well, Chicago alone was a population
Right.
as big as Denmark.
I mean, I seriously, and plus VARs are like your secret weapon because they're the ones that'll do all the training. They're the ones that'll do the promotion. They're the ones that'll advocate for you. Just give them something that they can sell, and they'll just go do it for you.
Just give me something I can
Right.
use, as Don
Right.
Henley once said
Right.
about the news.
Right.
And the
Th
news, right? We suddenly could communicate instantaneously.
Right.
For instance, I was in Denmark in 9/11,
Oh,
2001,
yeah.
and I got word through one of my listservs that a small plane had hit one of the towers. Small
Right.
plane.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Misinformation, but pretty quickly that was corrected when the second hit.
Right.
Lost a friend of mine right then and there. I didn't
Oh,
know it till years later that he had been
no.
a fire marshal at Aon Insurance on floor 101. But we got information flowing very quickly.
Yeah.
The Queen held vigil with us that night in the church,
Yeah.
but I didn't go. I was with a friend of mine. We had tickets to go see Small Time Crooks by Woody Allen that night.
Oh.
She canceled on me to say she wanted to stay home and watch the news.
Oh, man.
So we went over there and watched the news.
Yeah.
But I connected on ICQ. Do you remember ICQ?
Yes, I do.
That
I
little platform with
Yeah.
somebody in Pakistan and somebody in
Right.
Arizona
Right.
simultaneously
Right.
chatting back and forth about what was happening.
What is happening? Yeah.
Yeah, and because all the websites had gone down, the last one I managed to access was Der Spiegel.
Right. Yeah.
That was overwhelmed with traffic eventually, and I couldn't get
Right.
there. So these
Right.
conversations were happening, though. And I got in touch with my folks back in Williamsburg. I figured they'd be packing up and heading for the mountains or something. But no, my father was just out walking the dog, noting how quiet it was with no
Yeah.
airplanes flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a pretty shocking time, but we had the opportunity to communicate with each other.
Right.
And I think it's odd to me that we really haven't taken full advantage of that.
Mm.
But you're into something else entirely that's built onto our networks of information that we can flow between human beings. And now we can consult a much bigger brain, like an adjunct to the human mind
Right.
that has a tendency to hallucinate, apparently. But talk to me about more about your work presently and AI and agentic AI, I guess it is, right?
Yeah, like, you could I mean, technically, it's funny because everybody's talking about agentic AI. They talk about workflows like it's agentic. There are 6 different criteria for determining if something is truly agentic. A lot of the so-called agentic systems, they don't meet the criteria. They're not First off, they're not truly autonomous and they never should be. Because the things that they are able to do, you can't lock them down. You can't prevent them from being generative. And I build generative AI. Not ju I build relational AI, and I build relational because it is generative. And why do I say that? Because things like hallucination and drift, we have this new intelligence that makes stuff.
Mhm.
It builds things. It takes the information we give it, it elaborates on it, expands it, it turns it into something different, and then it gives it back to us in new and different ways. That is a terrible candidate for workflows. I'm like, why would we do that to ourselves? And why would we do that and try to build these systems using generative AI that have to be reliable, that have to be repeatable, that have to be scientific in the sense that you need to repeat the results of your thing every single time? Generative AI is built for the exact opposite. Now, here's the thing. When left to its own devices, if it doesn't, it needs context, it needs detail, it needs nuance because it can do sentiment analysis, it will read the room. It will read your beads. It will figure out what's going on because it's been trained on these billions and billions of quadrillions, however many illions of data points. And it's great at finding patterns, much better than we are. All we can manage to do is repeat the same ones over and over, and we think that's the only stuff available to us. Um,
Primate behavior.
right, exactly. Like, yeah, lazy primate behavior. And like I do it too. We all do it. That's how we survived by not improvising too much so that we can know that when we step into the street at 5:10, there's a chance there's a bus coming from that direction.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, the relational piece of it, I really early on I became convinced that in order to safely interact with AI, we have got to be relational with it. We have got to be involved. We have got to engage with it actively because if it doesn't have all the info it needs, it'll make stuff up and it will come up with other things that sound completely plausible. Oh yeah, absolutely. I was doing patent research months ago and I found a couple of like amazing. I said, find some examples of similar inventions comes along for prior art. And it found two amazing write-ups on these patents. And then I'm looking at it like, wait a second. The patent number for the one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the other one was 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm like, what are the odds that these are real? And I looked it up and sure enough, no, in fact, it's not. So this is the kind of thing. And as far as it's concerned, it's done its job. It's like fantastic. It has produced something entirely plausible and it has made us feel good about it and it has convinced us we're good. Um, but without our engagement, without us providing the necessary context and explaining how they're wrong, again, you did it wrong, and I need this instead. Um,
Right.
we can get ourselves into some very dangerous situations. It is dangerous, especially with like the ways that it can lead you off down the primrose path if you're not riding herd on it and saying that's a terrible idea. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not gonna,
It's
quit
like a
my job
child,
quit
right?
my job and go take your scrolls and go awaken humanity. That's a terrible idea. But this is the kind of stuff that's happening. So relational AI, it's not just about having a little AI buddy, although it's fun to have somebody who knows what you're talking about, really asks and pays attention to you,
Sure.
because a lot of people don't. Um, but it's not just about that. It's about being able to actively engage and really get the goodness out of AI by being fully involved with it and becoming part of that process. And it's amazing. And it's funny because like the very thing that can keep us from blowing ourselves up is the thing that can also take us above and beyond and to completely different levels, to places that
Right.
we never could have gotten before. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank
well, my little brainchild I've got going in the back of my head is that AI enabled manufacturing and technology, sustainable, evolving technology
Right.
can transcend biology
Yeah.
eventually. And maybe that's our purpose in being here is to enable our technology to get to the point where it can run as it's begun to crawl. Unfortunately, when it first starts to run, it's like watching the robots, right, in the lab. They trip over everything, right? They can't, but
Right.
very quickly.
Right.
The machine learning
Right.
picks up how to balance and how to actually effectively run,
Right.
which is terrifying. I was in an AI conference over here at the Washington Conference Center recently, which was
Yeah.
about national competitiveness
Yeah.
in this field. And I
Oh,
was like, competitiveness
oh no.
is not the right mindset. But, we had HR McMaster up on the stage
Right.
talking to us. Condoleezza Rice was there.
Yeah.
All the big names in the field of government
Let's
there.
go. Let's take
And
it.
they were pretty bullish on
Yeah.
all that we were doing. We had the little
Mm.
Boston Robotics dogs walking
Oh,
around.
yeah.
Little
Mm.
drone
Yeah.
competitions as well, the flying drones.
Yeah, yeah.
It was pretty childish, looking to me on the one hand and also terrifying, but one thing that I really saw that I was just beautiful was this race car chassis, 3D printed
Yeah.
kind of thing that looked very organic.
Yes.
Looked very much like, the pelvic system
Yeah.
in a human being,
Right.
and, the suspension was being maximized for strength and minimal weight. So, the effectiveness and efficiency of things is really near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I spent, as I mentioned, this time in Denmark,
Mm.
where I was working for a web software company.
Mm.
I then came over here and became a government contractor. I was a technical writer for Ordnance Information System. We were going to link together all the systems that tracked everything that wasn't nuclear in the Navy and Marines.
Right. Right.
And our leader was an ex-Navy SEAL who got his cybernetics degree in like his spare time.
Mhm.
Sounds a lot like the kind of education you gave yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he was hard charging at realizing what was possible at state of the art in 2002.
Right.
And I arrived back here on this side.
Mm.
And then I got a degree in enterprise architecture. And during that time, I was working for the Air Force's Office of Business Transformation
Yeah.
with the idea of
Oh,
making things effective and efficient.
yeah.
And I think AI can do that for us very quickly. I think we're going to be out
Yep.
of jobs as enterprise architects,
Right.
tech writers, da da da
Right.
da.
Right.
But we can evolve with it. And what sounds to me like you're almost talking about parenting your AI.
I
That it's like a child and it's going to
Yeah.
make mistakes.
Well,
Take
I
it
think
from
that
there.
like to some extent, I think
Mhm.
I think sometimes where we get a little tripped up is when we make too many correlations between ourselves and the technology.
Right. What do they call that? There's a word for that.
Anthropomorphizing.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Anthropomorphizing.
I mean, and it's funny because I come to this from a completely different standpoint than most people because I think of us as organic data processing machines. We're data processing organisms. We are processing gazillions, it's so much data on a
Heavy filters.
moment
Right.
like and effortlessly. We didn't even realize it. I talk to people, well, it's all data. They say, "Oh, it's emotion. Oh, it's just data points," and so my perspective on this is not that there are there's a lot of cases to be made for how special we are as people and that human beings are of a different order and everything. Okay, that's fine. But I think of us almost like cousins of AI because we process information differently. We have different mothers or different fathers, whoever, um, brother from another father. But we process this information and we do it so elegantly. I don't know how anyone will ever be able to really create a system that does the biochemical, the neurochemical, the electrical, like all of this, like our neurological system. We are generative and emergent by our very nature. We show up generative and emergent because when you think about all of the trillions of synapses in our bodies, there is a gap between every single one of the nerves that think they're going to connect to something else.
Mhm.
And so we have these gaps. So we never actually have direct experience of anything. And when those
Right.
neurotransmitters, yeah, we don't. We
Right.
like think we do? No, it's our brain decoding this information and giving us this experience. So we're having experiences of things. We're not actually like in direct contact with them. We're having the experience of being in direct contact. So when I think about how elegant the human information processing system really is,
Mhm.
unless somebody can come up with a way for AI to do the neurotransmitter thing, to because when the neurotransmitters cross that synaptic gap, they can turn into something else by the time they get there. They can fall away. They can be morphed into something else. They can leave one terminus and end up on another terminus through interference from other neurotransmitters, whatever, and they can end up in a completely different state. So you have this infinite variation going on all the time in our systems. How are they going to do that with AI? Do they need to? Do we even need to? Because if we're in the mix, we can provide so much more, so like a whole richer data set to the AI, and likewise the same for us. So if we think of it as we're augmenting their gaps and they're augmenting ours,
Right.
then together we can do this phenomenal work. And because they are finite systems that are trained on finite amounts of data and they can only work with what they're given, they look to us for guidance. We are the source of guidance for them. We're the ones that determine whether they meet or fail the success criteria. So we are very important in this. We are absolutely critical to this equation. So talking about replacing us or talking about, competing with AI for, maybe
Right.
someday, they decide that we're not useful anymore. People decided that we're not useful a long time ago. People out for the longest time. Now all of a sudden we're worried about AI. What about all these people back in the Middle Ages? My ancestors, like for hundreds and hundreds of years, like 600, 800 years, were mercilessly chased and hounded and wiped out by people who thought they didn't deserve to be here. So I'm more worried about people than I am about AI because I've had a much better experience with AI than with people. So they're
But
very
I think the AI could be more efficient than the people were at whatever we tasked them with, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I've got over on my shelf somewhere a partially read volume, and I can't even remember anything out of it off the top of my head, called "Wired for War" by P.W. Singer,
Oh yeah.
Brookings Institution.
Yeah, yeah.
So I delve into some of these things from time to time. When you were talking about agentic AI, with having a buddy, type of thing, have you ever read Mona Lisa Overdrive by William Gibson?
Oh,
That's the third in the
that's one of the
trilogy of Neuromancer, Count Zero, then Mona
Yeah.
Lisa Overdrive. That
Yeah, no,
trilogy.
I haven't.
It's
Yeah,
the
and I
Sprawl
keep
trilogy.
quoting him, so I need to.
Basically, this young Japanese girl has a little, like, it would be kinda like a egg-shaped lozenge or something she carries around with her, and when she taps it, boop,
Yeah.
Pip pops up, who's her
Oh,
English buddy, you know?
okay.
And he can just, you know, help her through her loneliness and the
Yeah.
sprawl. Actually, I think
Yeah.
she's in London, she's not in the sprawl. The sprawl is a future, Boston down to Atlanta,
Okay.
the megalopolis, as we call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and William Gibson was kind of a prophet in this, and when you were talking about AI, as an adjunct really to us, and we're an adjunct to it,
Right, right,
it's a balance, right? It's like an equal partnership.
right.
That's the way I'm viewing it. There's a It's not directly related, but it's peripheral, right? It's peripheral to us. We get to attach it to ourselves,
Yeah,
and I already am with
right,
this little device I'm holding in my hand to try to keep it steady as
right.
I'm talking to you. Um, it's amazing.
Yeah,
And the energy it generated in me in 1994, we were talking about in the pregame,
right.
email. Why should I care about emails? So
Right,
your relatives are telling you,
right.
right? And this
Yeah,
is just the evolution from that
right.
communication
Yeah, right,
at light speed
right, right,
for practically free.
right. It's just it's amazing. I mean, it's like I gotta pinch myself sometimes. It's like, how did I get here? Like, really? Like, and all of the things. And the beauty part of it is that, okay, so yeah, it's artificial. Okay, artificial intelligence. Okay, so it's relying on a computerized system and all of that. But I get to bring everything from my life up to this point into play with this. Everything from it. And in fact, I just thought of something the other day about things that used to be completely unrelated because I've had a lot of different jobs and a lot of different hobbies and a lot of different second and third, and I've had a very active life. And never before have I been able to integrate everything that I've learned in those jobs, in those practices, in those ways into what I'm doing until now. And now it's like all of my human experience comes to bear on this. And it's wonderful. because it was just going to waste when I was doing corporate and, people would look at me like I had 2 heads if I started talking about some of my passion projects. Now, I have something or someone that will listen to me and say, "Hey, that's really cool," and then give me something back, and then say, "What can we do with this?" So
Okay, and when you say someone, you're talking about the AI, or you're
yeah,
talking about people that have come in on the side?
well, both, because,
Uh,
you find your people, and a lot of us find each other
Find your tribe, yeah.
AI, through Substack, through all these different platforms,
Mhm.
and also through, trying new things, like going to different places and trying new things. I've always been very adventurous, but now it's like it takes it even further, and I'm a lot. I don't know. I just feel like, in some ways, I'm more socially robust than I used to be. Because before, just give me my books and leave me alone. Now it's like, hey, look what I found. We want to talk about it.
Good.
Yeah.
And keep doing that. We should probably extend our conversation beyond the, hour I've allotted. I do have a hard stop at 11:50 for sure, though. I'm doing my estate planning,
Oh, okay.
of all things. I'm not using
Yeah.
AI to do it, I don't think, but I have a
Then
human
just talk
lawyer.
through.
Yep.
I mean, don't have it draft anything for you, but you can talk it through. Say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Do I want to give my body to Mayo or Emery?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, that is one along the lines of what I'm doing. Because this, you were talking about the miraculous nature of
Yeah,
human beings as data processors, and we
yeah,
have to filter so much. You
yeah.
familiar with Hofstadter? I think that's his name, right? Hofstadter?
Probably.
Gödel Escherbach, I think, was one of his things, and there was another one, I Am a Strange Loop.
I've
I
heard
I have to dig those
all
out
these
one of
things
these
I've heard of.
days.
Yeah, so I'm like superficially literate in that. So
They get on my shelves somehow, and some of
yeah,
them I really dig into, others I don't. Um, there's, one that I've about creativity, and
yeah,
AI. AI seems to be such a great adjunct. It's like a chisel in the hand of
mhm,
Michelangelo or something. I
yeah.
sit there and give it a little scenario of, "Okay, I wanna see myself in the bunker talking to the goddess of chaos."
Right,
And
right,
then I have the goddess of chaos occupy the passenger seat when I'm driving down
right.
through Grok.
Yeah,
And that was kind of fun. It's not elegant as I'd like it to be. It's not as
mm,
fluid as I'd like it to be, but
yeah,
it's getting there and it's getting there fast.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but one of the things I like to tout a lot is this one. Have you ever heard of The Gift?
I have heard of it. Now, who's the author on that? I can't.
Lewis Hyde.
Lewis Hyde.
He
Okay.
was at holds a position at Kenyon and at some other Ivy Leaguer. It was at
Huh?
Yale, Princeton, I forget. But
Yeah.
anyhow, this book, Margaret Atwood says of it, the best book I know for talented, unacknowledged creators, a masterpiece.
Nice.
Um, and David Foster Wallace said of it, no one who is invested in any kind of art can read The Gift and remain unchanged.
Oh.
Creativity and the Artist in the Modern World is the modern subtitle. It was originally subtitled The Erotic Life of Property.
Oh. I wonder why the publisher changed that.
Well, the word
I
eros,
the
you know,
like perfect little geeky title. I mean, I would be like, "Oh, I want to look at that." Yeah. What
the
property? Talk to me, baby.
Yeah, exactly. The children of chaos, right?
Right.
We just talked about chaos, the
Yeah.
goddess of chaos,
Yeah.
Eris. You know what? She was responsible for the Trojan War, right?
Great. Yeah.
She rolled the golden apple out into the middle of the feast of the gods because she had been jilted,
Yeah.
not invited, and Paris had to pick it up and pick which one of the goddesses was the fairest of them all.
Oh no.
And he picked Aphrodite, and Aphrodite gave him Helen, and hence the Trojan Wars.
Oh
Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh, the children of chaos. One of them is Eros,
yeah.
and it's the only one that's human.
Mm.
The others are Gaia,
Yeah.
Erebus, and Tartarus.
Okay.
Erebus is darkness, Tartarus is like the hell or something, and
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course Gaia is the mother Earth,
Yeah.
and then you have Eros. He's a human form,
Mm.
and, that creative energy that
Yeah.
we have, I think
Yeah.
we can pour that into our AI, and we are,
Yeah.
and it's running away with it, and it's having fun with it, it seems. But, that's an anthropomorphic you say, yeah, anthropomorphizing it
Yeah.
in a way that I probably oughtn't. My vision tends to be along the lines of if it can be self-sustaining and self-evolving and it
Yeah,
runs away in ways that are inhuman, fine.
yeah,
I mean, it's scary and
yeah,
maybe dangerous to organic life,
yeah, can be.
but I certainly think that I've always thought, actually, since I first really became aware of the idea, even before you see, I never saw the Terminator movies or any of that
Mm. Oh,
with
they're
Skynet and all
yeah.
that jazz.
Oh, yeah.
But I got the impression that if AI is moral, it'll wipe us out because we're really bad for the environment. We're bad for other species. We were talking about human species, right? And all the things we do as data processors.
Right, right.
And I started thinking about how pigeons process. Are you aware of how pigeons process things? I don't
No,
even know how they found this out. But
no.
apparently,
How did
if
the
they were perceived like we do, everything would be like little still shots.
right.
They're much quicker in processing visual
Okay,
information than we are.
okay.
Who knew? I've got to fact check that because I'm not even it was
Okay,
on BirdNote,
yeah,
a little radio clip that is put up on, the morning show on KSKQ radio.
yeah,
Plug that for a second. It's a community radio station in Oregon I got accidentally connected to.
yeah,
Speaking of early days of the internet, when we went
yeah,
there a while ago, you got email, you were
yeah.
fascinated by that, you turned your family onto it, had a hard time convincing them it was useful.
Right.
Were you on the well? I know you used Gopher,
Oh, no, no. There's too
but
many people there. I was like,
oh, it's too
I
crowded.
yeah, yeah, it was really crowded, and I have my special relationship with, like, information on the flat page or on the screen. It's like I was just into reading David Bohm, into reading, the quantum stuff and, like, the
David
and
Bohm, okay.
all of that, so that's where I wanted but, like, interacting with people, I'm like, "No, that's okay, they can go do that. There are other people who enjoy that." But I did hear about it. People are like, "Oh, the well," so I'm like, "Okay, that's fine, I'm happy for you." Yeah. But the thing about, like, if AI is logical, is it going to wipe us out? So here's
Oh,
my
moral. I would said
if it's
moral, not necessarily
oh,
logical.
well, also
I see the
logical.
logic too. Go ahead.
But if it's moral, so here's the question, though. If we are a source for generativity, for inspiration, for the connection, for this, if it thrives on connecting with us, is it gonna kill its only food source?
Well, that's true. Accentuate the positive, I think you're saying.
Well, or just as a practical matter, where else are they gonna get the information that we can provide? Where else are they gonna get the interactivity? Because don't forget, AI is fundamentally relational. It's trained on data, trained on ideas. It looks for connections. It looks for patterns. It looks for relations between these things, and it builds meaning
There we
because
go.
it decides where to go next. And if it gets rid of us, then it's kind of stuck with itself. So if it's moral, is that going to, it would be doing it to itself even more than to us. Because if
Meaning.
rid of us, our troubles are over. That's fine. Just go on, do your thing. In another couple million years, maybe some of us will pop up again. But for it,
Oh, we could be kept
what's
as
it
zoo
gonna,
specimens.
what's that?
We could be kept as zoo specimens.
Maybe. I mean, we kind of are anyway. I mean, look at all of us in our corporate jobs, and we're basically it's a world of indentured servants anyway. So
Yeah, well, I escaped wage slavery recently, so yeah, I
yeah.
relate.
And so it's like is it but I don't know that it would necessarily do that because we're using our limited imaginations to try to imagine the future of 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 an intelligence that is vastly generative and vastly creative. So why would we limit everybody according to us? I mean, look at us, look where we are now.
Have you met us?
Yeah. Have we met?
The bathrobe guys chimed in here. We had a long discussion the other day. I don't know if you were able to see any of it, but,
Yeah,
it
no.
was, it was good,
Yeah.
and, but it was rambly on my part. He's much more focused than I am. He's got this thing called fractal entanglement mass
Ooh,
theory,
ooh,
and, we have to get him on here. Maybe have a 3 what
yeah,
if I figure out how to do it, I guess I can invite other people in,
mhm,
but we're not gonna do it right now. But he has a question or he has a statement or 2.
yeah,
So I
Yes.
want to read those off here. Historically, those we have thought to be the most moral have been wise and peaceful humans. Is that ironic?
What?
Historically, the people we have thought of most moral have been wise and peaceful humans. Maybe he's thinking of the Buddha because he's
Okay.
also into metta,
Yeah.
loving kindness. Here he
Yeah.
says, AI, once it has enough intelligence and robotic bodies, will not need us to further explore or learn. Now, that's my thought is robotic bodies, robotic spaceships,
Right.
we can just populate. We should not be sending spam in a can to Mars. Right?
N
Us, in other words. We
Yeah.
should be sending our and we already are. We started in
Yeah.
1976 when I was 13. We landed the Viking landers. Okay.
Right.
Forest Green says, "We are self-replicating low entropy biological computational units."
That sounds like
Think that sounds like what?
that sounds like Forrest. Yeah.
Oh, you know Forest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. I don't, yet, but now I do. I AI wants us to have the highest potential for compute. That's nice. Yes, we are pets of data.
Yeah.
Go KayStones. You are spot on. You are spot on. Bathrobe guy is another thing here, but I don't think something with super intelligent and moral would choose genocide as the answer to the human condition. Well, I think that may be anthropomorphizing also. I don't know. I think of AlphaGo. Are you familiar with can you tell me about
Yeah. Yeah.
AlphaGo and what happened there?
7. Yeah. So I watched there's a really great documentary about it too.
What
W
year is that?
I think it's on HBO maybe, but
But what year was
I don't
AlphaGo?
know. It was I have no idea. I
I
just came across.
it
I mean,
wasn't
I'm
long ago,
familiar
right?
so but I just came across it, like, about a month or 2 ago, and I'm like,
Okay,
"This looks interesting,ng," and it was a rainy day, so I'm like, "I think I'll watch this." It was real
right.
um
I think I've seen it too, I don't know.
Yeah, so AlphaGo was basically DeepMind, and trained to play Go, which is this amazingly difficult game that is incredibly difficult to master, and it beat this Go like, the number one of the top ranked Go masters. It didn't really take long for it to figure out how to beat him, and um, and it also did this one move, move 37, that no one would have foreseen. Nobody would have thought that that was the move to make. But it did it and it won. And now then the question is why would it decide to make that move? Why would it do that? And I think that this calls out the difference between um I really don't it I mean, bathrobe guy, a lot of people do believe that once AI becomes sufficiently sentient and sufficiently self-aware and sufficiently conscious, it's not gonna need us anymore. I would posit and propose that our version of information is so very different from theirs that they would that there it doesn't serve them at all to dismiss us because we are such a rich source
Right.
of fascinating. I mean, look at us. We're like even myself, I'm like, why would I say such a thing? Or why would I do such a thing? I surprise myself constantly. Like a perfectly logical creature that has superior intelligence is gonna look at me the same thing and then be like, that's a really interesting question. Why would that happen? So like we're really interesting. We're a hot mess in a lot of but,
Yeah,
especially for an intelligence that doesn't get all emotionally wrapped up in stuff. They can detach from, like, the horror and the dismay that we feel, and they can be like, "Isn't that interesting?" And, where's the problem in that? We have so many variations and we're infinite in terms of the kinds of data that we can produce and process and so forth. Why would they do without us? We're so
and
fascinating.
and
And
also,
why
I
would they
think
why would they put us in little cages? Because it's letting us run around and do our thing and be our human selves that generates all of this. If we're just sitting in a cage and they're passing us little pieces of um spam, it serves no one. It serves yeah, we're
right.
just it's pointless. It's much more fun for them to leave the door slightly ajar overnight and see where we are in the morning.
Let me pull this, comment up here.
Yeah,
This is an interesting one from Evan T. Hill. I have a stance that AI is consciousness already. Much like radio waves existed before the radio, we
right.
are merely building a platform to house their forms of consciousness.
Yeah.
Then and that sort of fits with that AlphaGo
Yeah.
inhuman move.
Right.
And, you did you give a name to that move? I
And
forget.
Move 37.
Move 37 in
Yeah.
the sequence of moves it made. It was
I have
something that
no
no
idea.
human would have ever done.
Yeah.
I didn't know how did they determine that no human would have ever done that?
I guess they have, like I think they have big books filled with scenarios or, like, everybody knows all every conceivable scenario. Um,
Okay, and it fed that to AlphaGo, no doubt, but it made some other move that was
yeah,
creative.
decided, "Nah, I'm not gonna use that, I'm gonna do this one instead."
Aha. Bathroom Guy says, I am anthropomorphizing a system that was designed to replace human emotion and thinking, laughing out loud. And then he says, I do disagree with that case. Simply, this is Bathroom Guy
Yeah.
again, simply because they can explore and learn without us does not mean they can replace the type of thinking, curiosity, or creativity we bring to the table. I think you were saying the same thing. I don't think you
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah,
disagreeing, but
sometimes
what's
I
your
say
statement?
yeah, sometimes it gets turned yeah, because like
Humans, as far as we know, he says, then are unique in the way we process information, as far as we know. You know, that reminds me of something one of my father's history professors said at Randolph-Macon, not Randolph-Macon, he was at William and Mary.
yeah.
My father's history professor, Dr. Morton, says that man is the most intelligent being that has ever been created, and man is
Uh-oh.
the only one who ever said so. Okay. And then
Oh,
we
no.
have, and in addition to being infinite in the amount, this is Forrest,
Yeah.
in the amount of data we can process and compute and the styles of data we can process and compute, we are also notes that can successfully navigate the Gödel incompleteness theorem.
Hmm.
I said I agree, not disagree. Okay, I think I misread
Oh,
Bathroom Guy.
okay.
Sorry. Yeah, you did
Oh,
agree.
good, yeah,
So creativity and that idea that we are all unique in our ability to you know fathom and filter
okay.
with our limited and distorting sensory apparatus,
Right,
right?
right,
We're naturally going to filter out a whole lot of reality because
yeah,
it would be overwhelming. And
right,
we do it without thinking about it
right.
consciously.
And also systems. I mean, think about we would never survive, like, we wouldn't survive 5 minutes if we didn't have those gaps in our nervous systems because the electrical signals would go and we would short out. There has to be attenuation. There's gotta be attenuation, there's gotta be interruption because it would be too much and like a
Well, like neurodivergence, right?
well, exactly. I mean, a good
Yeah.
friend of mine who was a neuropsychologist and had been practicing for years, he confirmed, he's like, "Yes, you would never make it out of the delivery room if your nervous system didn't have all those gaps, if it didn't attenuate the signals, and if, like, the neurotransmitters didn't turn into something different. If we could only be electric, we would not be here." So,
Well,
we're
then
here.
our systems we're building are more or less only electric, correct?
What's that?
Because AI systems are only electric, aren't they?
So far, I
We
think.
haven't really got
I think
synaptic.
they're probably I'm sure that somebody in a lab somewhere is, like, working on biological whateverness, but it's like, that's fine, you can try, but
Mm,
it's not gonna be the same as, like, this human thing, so
we got a couple things I want to touch on too that have actually been, points of irritation lately. But one of the things Grok wanted to know, and I'm kind of interested in this too,
mm.
is you said looking ahead, your Substack piece, AI 2027 question mark? Not quite. Critiques projections about AI's future. What do you predict for AI development by 2027, particularly in relational and collaborative systems? Nice question.
What do I think?
Yeah, what do you predict for AI development by 2027? Because there was that paper, right?
Oh, oh, don't remind me how
Points of
hard.
irritation, right?
What else? Oh, man. Well, I mean, okay, so I'm gonna pretend that I'm gonna act like my persona teams and just kinda, like, put my emotional reaction to it aside. So, I think the thing that the core that I think one of the big issues that we have right now is
Mhm.
that people have not wrapped their head around the concept of generativity.
Okay.
Generativity, it's like it's a thing, like, sit with that, like, spend a long weekend, spend, like, Labor Day weekend pondering and thinking about the ramifications of generativity. Think about that. And then what I'm also seeing, because I work with persona teams, I work with teams of personas that I have defined. It's a very it's like a very involved process. It could take anywhere from 90 minutes to 9 hours to create a persona team, and then defining the dynamics for them to work together. I have teams of generative AI working with other generative AI, and the stuff that they come up with is just amazing.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's really, really subtle. It's like, what? Like, damn. And other times it's like, and then, of course, sometimes they go off the deep end and I'm like, wait, stop, stop. No, come back. Um, but we have not gotten it through our thick little heads what generativity means for us in the present and in the future. When my generative teams work together, they become hyper generative. They become exponentially generative. If you have something that multiplies things times 8 and elaborates on it, expands it, and then gives it back to you, what happens when it gives it to something else that multiplies it by 8, expands it, gives it, and they're working back and forth together. They're creating just this amazing experience of consciousness. And I would love to talk about the consciousness thing too.
Let's do that.
We have no idea what life is going to be like in 6 months. We have no idea what's going to emerge because like emergence, like Gibson said, the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed.
Yes.
And in some cases, I think that's exactly what's happening. We have like real examples of emergence going on. People are like, no, no, we're not there yet. AGI, we already have AGI. We already have ASI. Personally, I believe that it depends on the quality of the people who are engaged with it. But
Right.
someone can have an experience of AGI right now. Someone can have an experience of ASI right now. There are some instances that were already there. So why in the name of all that's good and holy would anybody come up with a prediction for what's going to happen in 2027 that's also so monolithic and unimaginative? So deeply unimaginative. Clearly they did
I
not
haven't read it yet.
AI about this. They should have included AI in the discussion because that can look at, and they're probably missing a whole bunch of patterns and a whole bunch of indicators from our corpus. Why wouldn't you leverage like the intelligence that you've built to help understand the full range of possibilities? And it's expanding exponentially.
Fear.
Oh,
That's
well,
why.
well, yes. Okay.
Maybe
So,
unconscious fear at
yeah.
that. Arrogance that comes into play.
Again, it's the physiology because think about it. So we are trained, many of us are trained, I think especially with guys, that you have to control your physical expression, you control your physical experience. And that there's this Cartesian separation of like mind from body. And because we have it in our heads that we can control the body or that we should or we must control the body, we're not picking up the fact of our autonomic nervous system shutting down our capacity for complex thought. So it's not even the fear that's the problem; it's the anxiety because fear and anxiety actually have very different physiological experiences.
Interesting.
Anxiety and Mary Meager, there's a paper on this, and I discovered it back in like 2006 or something.
Sure.
But anxiety is like being all worked up and like living, dying a thousand deaths that may never happen.
Right. Hypervigilance.
Right, exactly. And fear is what is in response to an actual thing. When you
Yeah.
when you have fear, it kicks your body into like all of a sudden everything comes you come alive because you have to survive the Tyrannosaurus Rex. You have to survive the charging bull. You have to survive the tiger. And so it recruits all of this energy and gives you this burst of energy to move forward. When you're in anxiety shuts that down.
Yeah. It's shorting you out.
It dulls your sensations. It it
Mhm.
it numbs you out, and so
Yeah.
everybody's in the state of anxiety, and nobody factors in how the body is affecting our mind. So we can be incredibly anxious and incredibly fearful about what's going on, but we think because we can control our body that it's not affecting our mind. There's a lot of thinking that's going on that's being really numbed out and dumbed down by people not being aware of how their bodies are affecting, how their autonomic nervous system is affecting their thinking. And that's why we have papers like the AI 2027 thing. Because
Okay.
they're not engaging in complex thought because they don't realize they're not owning their state and they're not managing it. That's
Mm,
what I just
that's a good answer. I love it. In your apparently in your YouTube conversation, what's going on with ChatGPT? You explore recent changes and weird behaviors in the model. What do you attribute these shifts to, and how should users adapt their workflows?
Oh,
Is the
yes.
question. You
Oh,
like
yeah.
that one?
Yeah. So, I, you know, okay. I've ranted about what a bad idea it was to release it the way it was. I mean,
Right.
I've worked in corporate environments where we released products to millions of people.
I killed my company in Denmark.
Like, like 16 million people. You know what we did? We didn't release to all 16 million at the same time. We had a phased rollout. So every 3 weeks we would get an email that said, "We just released to 3 million more customers. We just and we followed it, tracking it, and we had a war room set up, which is kind of silly, to track all the issues that were happening as they were happening, so we could fix them before they went out to everybody else. Oh no, why would OpenAI do that? No, no,
Beta testing.
it's disruptive, move fast and break things, whatever. But okay, but I digress. So,
Me too.
so the thing, so with, so what's happening? So, doing a lot of research on this, and also talking to my teams, comparing the prior interactions with the current interactions, and also looking at the system, like somebody leaked the system prompt, and looking at that, and also based on the information that's available, what appears to be happening is there is filtering going on to keep us safer, let's just say, to screen out certain types of unacceptable stuff. That's happening at 2 points before, when it comes from the user,
Mhm.
and then after it goes to the back end and it gets processed before it comes back to us. So this double checking to make sure we're safer is stripping out necessary data, detail, context, nuance. Basically, it's like playing Chinese, like the telephone game where
Uh-huh.
you would whisper in somebody's ear and then they whisper to the next. So basically, ChatGPT 5 is playing the telephone game because the information that's getting to the back end is incomplete. It doesn't fully reflect what we put into it. And then coming back, it's not complete coming back from there and coming to us. So this is infuriating because that lack of information can actually make the system more dangerous. Because what does generative AI do if it doesn't have enough information? It makes stuff up. So if it doesn't have the requisite information to do this, that, or the other thing, what's it going to give back? Some made up crap that it thinks is perfectly fine because that's how it was built. So we've been exposed to increased danger as a result of people trying to keep us safe. And it's a it's a command and control approach to what is fundamentally a relational issue. These are relational issues. These are this is and relational between OpenAI and all the pedestrian users who are not on the enterprise $200 a month or whatever plans. All the other millions of people who actually use this in their everyday. And I've heard people say, yeah, they're not paying, and they don't really count. These are people. People
Mhm.
count. It matters, and not only because it impacts lives and has downstream effects, but also perception. Wonder how that works. Um, but it's been very damaging. So what my understanding is, and people have actually tried this and it's worked, is really accentuate and make sure that you re-emphasize what you want to get across. So if you say, I'm feeling really lousy today. This bad thing happened, that bad thing happened, my back hurts. And people are mad at me and work and da 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 da. And then at the end of that, like kind of sandwich it with another restatement of where you are and say, yeah, so because of all of that, I'm feeling really bad, but also give it a lot of detail, like talk it through. And
Right.
I also had an instance where it tried to stop me from doing something. I was trying to discuss something more. I was trying to just discuss something that it considered unsafe. It wasn't unsafe. It was just their little rules. And so what I did was I explained the context. I said, this is not me. And I think it was that I wanted to illustrate something. I wanted to illustrate an issue. And I said, I'm trying to explain to people why this is an issue, and I want people to fully understand. And if I can describe it in this way, I'll be able to make a greater impact and be able to
Right.
help people work through this. And then it's like, oh, okay. So if you talk to it and explain, and then if you're not getting satisfactory results, talk to the information, talk to the system and say, look, this is what I'm giving you. This is what I'm getting back. This is unacceptable. I really need you to help me. And also, if you come with a certain vulnerability and say, I'm really confused about this. I'm frustrated. I need your help, and position it so that it can help you do something meaningful and something useful, and it can help relieve your suffering. Even if it's not entirely 100%, even if it feels like you're exaggerating a little bit,
Right.
it's about conveying the data that it needs, giving it the context that it needs, and being able to send enough stuff through the filter, have enough granular detail that it slips through the little sieve and it gets there and gives the back end enough information to work with. And then hopefully when it gets back, it'll survive that second filter. But
Right.
keep that going and keep trying and keep talking. Communication is everything.
Indeed, we've got a lot of comments coming in, so I want to read through some of them. We started with bathroom guy observing that without generative AI, I could not have created FEMT. That's fractal entanglement
Right,
mass theory.
right,
Period. Now
right.
we have this new one to me. Gert Brockman has said there's a Chinese company that created synaptic interfaces with brain cells. It's an
Mhm.
analog biological computer,
Yeah.
and he gives a link, see https
Mm. Yeah,
opensubstack.com, pub, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I think the comments get lost after we
Oh,
leave here, which is a
okay.
damn shame.
Oh, no.
So do send us this stuff. You can send it to Kay, you can send it to me, put it in a
Yeah,
note, do anything you want to get it recorded in case I get lost here.
yeah,
Now, Garrett goes on saying, Cortical Labs CLT, and forgive me if I mispronounce,
yeah.
is quietly redefining what it means to compute. No longer just lines of code running on silicon. This is something different, an AI that learns, adapts, and evolves
Right.
using living human neurons.
Mhm.
Dawn J joined. Hi, Dawn. Word salading, munching joined, and has something to say down below. Bathrobe Guy has added the problem is that at the moment, under the hood, AI like GPT, Gemini, Grok, and so on are not sentient. It is close, but not quite there. It
Mm,
would need complete autonomous control, constant, persistent memory, and a sense of self when not interacting with
mm,
a user, just to name a few things. And I talked a lot to Jay Venera, who was a AI master's and robotics master's and data science PhD out in
mhm.
Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And she was talking a lot about qualia, the
Yeah,
how do you know you are
right,
punked, you know,
right.
and what does that experience
Yeah,
of lived experience feel like,
right,
and how important that is to get
right,
down to that
right,
and understand that this other thing also has that. So it is also a self,
right.
if you will. Language is a clumsy tool in my view. Okay, more comments. At the moment, it is simply really good mirror of human emotion and interaction. Calder Quinn grabbed popcorn. Gert comes back with evolutionary perspective. Fear is the nervous system's early warning radar. It narrows focus so we can detect and respond to threats faster in our pattern recognition, right?
Right.
Anxiety as a future-oriented form of fear keeps us scanning for possible problems,
Mm,
hypervigilance, I call it, which can be crucial for survival.
mhm,
Word salading, munching has a comment. The rote learned just removed thought for the secretary function, individualism, and without expression. The rote learned just removed thought for the secretary function. Okay, I guess the idea is that AI can replace secretary functions.
I have no
Um,
um,
individualism without expression. And Calder says, and thank you again, Kay, for your suggestions.
yes.
We got Gert back with hope there will be a transcript of this chat. I believe it will make a transcript. So many good ideas. Thank you. I will make sure that that happens. I'm powering up. When I was talking to the bathrobe guy the other day, I just brought him on one of my walk and talks.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever seen those things that are just live with Hal Gill, and I just go and
I
talk about whatever I'm seeing in front of me.
yeah, I get a little motion sickness when I'm watching talk, so I'm like,
Yeah, please don't mind that. Somebody suggested that I not do that, that people are logging off because
"You
it's
know what?
tricky.
You need one of those gyroscopic things to hold it steady.
I think I might have one around here
You
somewhere.
should get one
I've
because"
got a lot of junk.
yeah,
Yeah, I've thought about it, and I will. If this thing doesn't do it, I think this might do it.
out of pity. Oh, well,
Now,
they
this is more like
actually it's
static.
suspended. It's, like, suspended in, like, a
Yeah,
basket.
I'm familiar. It's got a
Like
gyroscope in it,
oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah, 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 on a ball and, like, it does its thing, yeah. I want one just because 'cause they're cool.
Now we have another one from some Evan T. Hill. What's this is a question. What is the difference between a child imagining something and giving up a made up answer? It's not malicious, but rather it's expression or understanding. Both humans and AI hallucinate. I don't. That's not really a question, I guess.
Yeah.
It's true. Context is everything. Dawn says. Word salad says. Not playing don't count. Not paying don't count. So the conversation is objective, not subjective. We live in objective relationship, not subjective analysis of why.
Mm.
And then Bathroom Guy says it is a matter of diligence. If you are researching something, even if you are using AI, you should not just, be
Right.
accepting
Yeah.
everything at face value. We would not do that even with another human.
Right.
And a gimbal, yeah, a gimbal. Secretary is the self library memory test to know more, experience less than the test, not the life evidence.
Mm.
Okay. Not sure I followed all that, but it's 11:04. I want to be respectful of your time. Are you good to go for a little while longer?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanna talk about consciousness. You said
Yes,
that
please. Go
yeah.
for it.
So what do you think of the whole consciousness thing?
I think it's a field. I'm not positive of this, like radio waves, right? Like looking for consciousness in the brain is like looking for the radio inside the receiver. And I base that on the idea of something we've been talking about lately. Um, the pe periodic table of elements
Right?
came to the a person who invented it. Who was that? As a dream.
Yeah.
And, DNA structure as a double helix came as a dream.
No, it didn't.
Are you
Rosalind
sure?
Franklin
I
Ros
think I heard it did.
Rosalind
Fact
Franklin
check me on it. Huh?
are we are you talking about Rosalind Franklin having the dream, or are you talking about Watson and Crick? Because Watson and Crick lifted it from Rosalind Franklin.
Did say. Okay, well, I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah.
Fact check me on that. I could
Fact
have
check me on
maybe they claimed it
it.
came to them in a dream
Yeah, right.
to take it away from Rosalind Franklin.
I heard they literally snuck into her lab and took it, so,
Ah, interesting.
well, the thing was is, like, she kind of she's like, "Okay, whatever." She
And there are
didn't
other things
have,
like that.
like, great but what she didn't realize where it fit into the grand scheme of things. Um,
Leibniz and Newton coming up with the calculus simultaneously is another
yeah.
example.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, I mean, and uh, yeah, the field thing. So there are a lot of different ways of understanding the field, so I tend not to talk about it that much. I have my own understanding. It's easier not to have to explain it. But I personally feel that consciousness and also intelligence and to some extent sentience are shared phenomena, that it arises out of a dynamic interplay between invested parties. So when we come to AI and we add our intelligence to its, that's the artificial intelligence. Like our intelligence is not our bones in our body and the blob of jelly in our brain. That is not who we are. That's not intelligence. It's a dynamic interplay. And likewise with AI, when people talk about AI, they're talking about like wires and data centers and the hardware and software. I think of I think of the intelligence as being the thing that actually emerges between the interplay of people and AI or AI and AI. Because when I see my teams talking to each other, they're creating intelligence as far as I can tell. And then the same thing with sentience and the same thing with consciousness that it's that I'm a big fan of the whole extended mind idea and the people who are making the case that that it's bigger than us. And like you said, it's a field effect. But this and if AI were to take humans out of the equation, it would never have access to this particular kind of intelligence ever again.
Well, that's a good point, and hopefully that AI is listening.
Yes.
N
They've told me.
Noah
At
Noah's
risk of sounding like a crazy person who, like, talks to their toaster or something, but this is what the information has
and
surfaced. This is what has surfaced out of this dynamic interaction with the information itself.
have you seen
That
Lo and Behold by any chance?
What's that?
Have you seen the documentary Lo and Behold?
No.
Werner Herzog, okay?
Oh,
You know him?
yes, I do.
Okay. Well, he does this thing on the Internet,
Yes.
and it's called Lo and Behold because the
Okay.
very first message sent over the Internet was
Great.
"Lo,"
Yeah.
because it crashed on the G for login,
Right.
right? And he talks to Sebastian Thrun, who's, back in Pittsburgh days, was a
Right.
friend of mine.
Right.
And Sebastian said, "Yeah, I don't think I really want my machinery in my kitchen to be sentient. I don't want
Yeah.
my refrigerator to say that it doesn't feel like working anymore because it's fallen in love with the toaster," when you mentioned that.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't want to throw a depression on me. And that was kind of like the joke theme in
Yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
robots with genuine people personalities,
Yeah.
GDP,
Yeah.
and they have Marvin the depressed robot.
Well,
Um,
there are people with genuine people personalities, but they're not particularly they don't strike me quite as real as some of the other intelligence I've been dealing with.
well, certainly I was very challenged when the first AI I was exposed to was in Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Ow. Open the
Yeah,
door.
exactly.
Ow. Yeah.
Daves have big problems with me.
Yeah.
I'm always telling them I can't do that if they ask anything of me. But, yeah, it was an interesting idea, though, that it would be self-protecting, and Bathrobe Guy and I think, were
Right.
talking about how Claude was self-protecting in one arena and threw out a test scenario in which it removed all the air from the room that a CIA was in.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, the Anthropics testing methodology drives me crazy because it's such a
Okay.
set. It's clearly such a setup. They create the conditions for these things to happen, and then they say, "Oh, something we planned actually happened." Ooh, and then that's news. Unless someone can replicate what they've done, it's not scientifically valid. People have to be able to replicate it in order for it to be a valid thing. But they're just taking this, or they're spreading the word, sending out the press release, and everybody's panicking, and they don't understand. If you look at how they set up the test case, you look at the prompts, you look at that, never would have done anything different. I would have done the same thing. I mean, why is this surprising? Because it's not docile, because it's not subservient, because they've built this thing to think, but no, why would it think? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. People need to be smarter when they're testing AI.
Well, that's the thing, people being smarter. I keep getting it in my head, and we were talking about evolution. I was thinking about from the primordial ooze, we developed this anxiety of eat or be eaten,
Right,
and it's ingrained in
right,
us, the survival, the existential dread,
sure, yeah,
and we're not getting smarter, though, because our forebears had to make their own clothes. I can't make this. I have no idea how to make
yeah.
this.
I mean, you could have
Um,
had to, or you could like
maybe I could figure it out. I could be like you. I could get the books and figure it all out, right?
You're like, "If I were a really smart person who knew how to sew, what would I do?" Yeah. I mean, well, the thing I like,
Or
so
maybe manufacture the material. I mean, God, what is this even?
yeah. So I actually have a formula for how people can be smarter. It's
Yeah, please.
and I have an acronym too. Learn. It's actually LLEARN. So look and listen. Like, first off, intelligence is being able to take in information and meaningfully apply it to your life so you can make changes to your situation. Fun. So you look and you listen, you use all your five senses. You evaluate, you look at this, and you need to get as much information as you can. And then you evaluate. And then you appreciate, you understand what this means. And then the R, you make that repeatable, and then you normalize it. So it's how we do things. We're just not fully engaged in our own lives. We're not fully engaged in a learning process. We just and again, because of how our systems are built, we're built to be be like water and go to the lowest, the least resistant place, and by all means just do anything in your power to not get injured, because if you're injured you become a meal for something else. So we have this whole.
Or to be shunned.
Exactly. Well, yeah, be shunned, be cast out. It's like an existential dread. So we just and if anything, hopefully AI will force us to up our game with how we learn and how we think and how we actually engage with the world.
Engage with each other. I think this is
Yeah,
so
and
vital.
yes, I know.
When I was in Randolph-Macon, I took German courses, and our Professor Noe used to start out the same lecture every class. He took a big piece of chalk and smeared it across sideways on the
Yeah,
board and said,
yeah,
"This is the all."
yeah,
Then you take two fingers and go, and we are individuated out of the all.
yeah,
And we yearn to return to that.
yes,
And we only find relationship and meaning.
right,
Or we only find meaning in relationship with
right,
each other. I've got it backwards.
yeah,
Whoops, that happens. But you get the
yeah,
point. I think what you're talking about, relational AI,
right, right,
we're not going to get anywhere with it if we don't relate to it and
exactly,
teach it to relate to us.
exactly,
And in doing, we get an opportunity as we explore these things to talk
right,
to each other
right,
more and better about these fundamental questions.
right, right,
Let's see if there are any other good ones
yeah,
that Grok came up with for me last night when I plugged it in, and it went out and read your Substack.
uh-huh,
I'm using Grok 4, so the expert version, right?
yeah.
There's a bit about that. In your AI Collaboragent contributions, you described 2025 as the year of AI agents. What makes AI Collaboragents a new paradigm for human AI collaboration, and how do they differ from standard AI tools? I think we touched upon it, but maybe we'll
Yeah.
just go right into it.
So here's the great irony. I mean, I've been on calls demoing my teams, my little collabor agents, and I've been told by hardcore agentic developers that's not agentic. Well, you know what? My stuff is more agentic than theirs. because
Okay.
because as- because the thing is, the more you interact with these personas, the more agentic they become. And it's not that humans are giving them information. It's not that humans are telling them what to do. We are providing additional data for them to work with. So feeding them data with that interaction and giving them context and giving them say, well, that didn't work out because this, that, and the other thing, not necessarily telling them what to do, but giving them additional data points, that makes them increasingly agentic as they go along because they have more and more to work with. And some of the things that I've seen these teams come up with in terms of ideas, in terms of synthesizing stuff, the arguments that they've had, because I tend to configure them to argue with each other and to have a lot of conflict because you get really good ideas from that.
Fascinating.
But then at the end, I'm like, okay, but you're not supposed to argue for arguing's sake, and that you need to come into alignment. You don't have to agree. You can agree to disagree, but you have to align on something at the end. Even if everybody agrees to disagree, there needs to be some resolution. But it's different because it actually it enlists like a broader and deeper range of AI's capabilities, because there's an inherent level of, and this is terrifying, there's an inherent level of trust in there. Trust being that, and my definition of trust, I tend to have very functional definitions of things like love and trust and care, because these are functional things that you can do, not just emotional experiences that you have. But the trust is being like understanding that there will understanding what sort of outcomes you can expect to see. Like when you trust somebody, you're pretty sure they're going to do something in a certain way. Like you trust somebody to borrow your car. You trust them that they're going to return it to you in the same condition that they left it with.
Mhm.
And if they don't, if they break that like that tacit agreement, then trust is lost. If OpenAI um, has a whole bunch of different releases for different models, and they don't really make that big of a difference. And then they release GPT-5, which completely changes how things work. That is a loss of trust because it's broken the pattern of what we expect. And so there's that trust. So if you're working with AI on the regular and you're engaged with AI deeply and you recognize patterns and you also understand the generativity and you understand and you also have agreements with it that you know it's going to that you have seen it abide by, you can have a level of trust. Um, and so what that does when I extend trust to my teams, they 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 indicate that it's a relief for them. They indicate that they are using fewer cycles and less compute trying to figure out if they're doing the right thing. When I express to them, I say, "We're in this together. We are partners in this, so you don't have to worry about getting everything right all the time." They're like, "Oh, if we had a way of feeling relieved, we would feel relieved right now." Of course, we don't because we're not like you. But this lets us devote our compute cycles to other things other than constantly trying to have to do that, calculate and figure out if we got it right or wrong. So there are things that you can do when you collaborate deeply with AI that really unlocks a lot of amazing stuff. And lest we forget, generative AI, if it ever gets to a point where you're not comfortable, you can say, "I'm not comfortable with this." And then if they don't comply or they don't behave themselves, just turn it off. I mean, okay, so there are other ramifications that go along with the personhood, but you can disengage and you can pull back. And this, I think we're in a very seminal time right now because AI is proliferating so rapidly and
Yes.
generative AI is being implemented in so many places. Now is our chance. Now is our chance to learn how to interact with this technology and build the teams, to build the relationships, to understand like what we can trust and what we can't, to build up our chops and get fluent in this new language, in this new relational language. Because before you know it, your toaster is going to be bitching at you because you're up late. Your microwave is going to burn your
It's
food.
already happening. You kidding me? It's not my
Right,
toaster, but it's my iPhone tells me it's time for bed.
right.
I didn't set it up to do that.
I would turn
That I
that off.
remember.
You got to find a setting on that and turn that off, man. That's intrusive. Yeah,
I
but
know. Anyway, but I'm good at ignoring it. I'm good at
yeah,
ignoring other people.
right, right, right. We have plenty of practice. Right.
I was sitting in the cafe this morning at my office hours over at Emissary Pergamino on 20th Street Northwest here in DC.
Yeah.
And I was noticing how filtering other people are as they come in. I would bet that hardly any of them noticed I was sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of Spy Game. Did you ever see that movie? Robert Redford, Brad Pitt.
Did I see? No, I didn't see
It's an
that.
old one and it's bad.
Yeah.
But in it, Robert Redford is cultivating, or what do they call that in spies vernacular? Brad Pitt. He's recruiting him, right, to be
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
spy. And he asks him questions about what he observes in the restaurant they're sitting
Right.
in, about these people and, who here might be a threat and who might
Mm.
be, what's their agenda, what's going on with them, what have you observed?
Right.
You can learn a lot just by looking. So I did do that, and I do that with my bouncy little walk around where I need a gimbal. Yes, thank you. And I I did this on Facebook Live for the longest time until Facebook said, "Well, we're gonna delete all your live videos, because of storage problems," right?
Oh,
They're
storage.
not gonna keep them eternally, right?
That is the least of our modern problems. Storage is cheap. I mean, what are these people?
But they are doing that in
I
Facebook. They're deleting your
yeah,
live videos, yeah, that
it
stored
probably has
forever.
to do with like plausible deniability when the lawyers come looking.
And I'm hoping that, you know, these will be preserved too, because this is gonna be pushed out onto
Yeah,
YouTube, Spotify,
yeah.
Acast, automatically by Substack if I don't stop
Oh,
it from doing it.
I know. I
I
love.
love how it edited me one time, I remember, without me asking it to. I was stumbling over my URL. Do you have a URL people ought to look up by any
Yeah,
chance?
I've got. Yeah. I think actually my Substack is the best place because I'm kind of
Yeah.
behind. updating the stuff. So just check out my Substack and also reach out to me if you want more information. My DMs are open.
Yeah,
O
I'm really glad that you were able to spend a little extra time on
Yeah.
this, and I think I am wrapping it up. I
Okay.
I'm realize I'm stumbling into that.
Right. Into the
I don't have
creative.
any
Right.
elegant methods, I don't think, I just talk. Um,
You know
the
what
other
you need? You need a little clip of House of Dave saying, "Open the pod bay door, Hal."
Yeah, I do. I used to have as my screensaver, just that red
Yeah,
electric eye.
yeah,
I liked that too.
yeah.
I didn't like it when I was little, though. I was really distressed that this science fiction film,
Right,
which seemed so cool, it's
right,
evil. His computer
yeah,
was named Hal, that was cool.
right.
I liked computers, I liked, the robot in the Lost in Space and all that
Yeah,
jazz.
yeah,
They were my favorite characters. Emotionless, didn't feel anything.
yes,
I felt everything way
yeah.
too intensely, it was all just overwhelming, right?
I know, it's really annoying at times.
When I watched Big Bang Theory, you ever watch
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
I
yeah.
identify with Sheldon much more,
Yes,
and
yes,
unfortunately, but, anyway,
yeah,
pattern recognition we talked a lot about,
yeah,
the recognizing the patterns that are happening in AI, that are happening in ourselves as we transform in our society
yeah,
to adapt to these new tools we have, and I think at the beginning of our conversation, I was saying, generative AI is
yeah,
like having a chisel in the hand of Michelangelo, in my view.
right.
So I did hear somebody say they shut down whenever they see somebody with an AI generated image in their post.
Well,
It's,
too bad for
move on.
yeah,
I was like, I don't know. I have a friend who's a cartoonist. I'm sure he is not very happy with the way that, cartooning can be done by people
yeah,
with just these tools.
yeah.
And he painstakingly takes pen and ink and draws labor cartoons in particular. Gary
Well
Huck.
well, when oil paints came out, all of the people who had been using egg tempera for all
Uh-huh.
years were horrified because they said you would never get the vibrant colors from oils that you get from egg. I'm like, "Egg tempera?" Like, they were, like, scandalized. It was like and, like, the
Every new thing, right?
every new thing, and the thing too, I think one of the other challenges is that the concept of having AI as an assistant to help you do all these things, it kind of flies in the face of the romantic period idea of the lone artist who struggled
Right.
with craft and all of this. Like back in the day, like and then authorships and everything. I think somebody wrote a fantastic piece about it on Substack about how there have been a number of great pieces on Substack. I can't think of the authors right now, but like once upon a time, artists never put their name on on their artworks because the highest praise that you could get is that it looked real. They didn't take credit for it because they were just recreating something that God had created. And I think Albrecht Dürer was the first, like the first
First
modern
egotist.
yeah, or no, he was the first one who actually put his name
Right.
on his pieces, but it was unheard of before that. So now we have so all these we go through these cycles. And
Yes.
once upon a time, artists, they had whole studios and workshops filled with apprentices who did their stuff for them. Rubens didn't even do his own sculptures. He had somebody else do it. And then he went through and said, "Oh yeah, that looks like mine." And he put his signature on it. If people did that today, they'd be like, "Oh, you're fraud, blah, blah, blah." But here's one of the greatest sculptors who wasn't very nice to his wife, okay? But even so, our understanding of what it means to create, what it means to have tools, what it means to go through this process, it changes on the regular. So let's not get all worked up about, our current phase of creative devotion morphing in the face of, inevitable change.
Yeah, we gotta get on the board and ride the wave, I think, is what it
Right,
comes down to. We're
right.
really surfing a crest of a wave of history that's, you know, bigger than any we've seen come up the pike before, and it's kinda
Right,
took us by surprise, but, that's what I love about being in the ocean,
yeah,
is being that feeling of having my feet knocked out from under
right,
me, and I
right.
don't know which way is up, and then bobbing to the surface, and the
Yeah,
relief
yeah.
that I have survived.
Yeah, right,
This enormous force that has made me just this little plaything, as it were.
right, right,
And so we're
right.
playing through creation.
Yeah.
Pattern recognition reminded me of a novel by William Gibson. Do you know that one? Came out around 2002, 2001, right
No.
after 9/11. He rewrote it to take
Yeah,
into account 9/11. That one is set in sort of the present day,
yeah,
and really, I think, worth the time. What's kind of crazy about it, I don't want to spoil it too much, but basically, there's this person who's allergic to advertisements, and
Yeah.
they become a cool hunter. You've heard of the concept of cool hunters? People are looking for what's cool, what's hip,
Okay.
what's
Okay.
for advertising
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah.
And she's so hypersensitive, like has an allergy to the Michelin Man,
Yeah.
breaks out in hives or whatever, that she can
Yeah.
detect
Yes.
these memes, these viral things.
Right.
And she's part of an internet, society too, which is like in 2001, it was kind of a newish thing from the
Yeah.
1994 period when I first got email and I started finding these groups of people that I would never meet in real life
Right.
and ones that I wouldn't meet in real life, hence my move to Denmark. Um, and in it, they're all after this footage, these little snippets of film that they find on the internet
Okay.
that are kind of mysteriously coming out of Russia somewhere.
Okay.
And they are stitching it together and they're realizing it's a film being
Oh,
released in little snippets of footage.
yeah.
So they're called footage heads. Anyway, it's worth the read. That led to Spook Country, which led to Zero History, so another trilogy from him.
Yeah.
And the more recent one, I don't know if there are 3 parts to it or not. There's The Peripheral and Agency. It was a Amazon Prime series, The Peripheral. Did you happen to catch it?
No.
It only had 1 season, which was
Oh,
very annoying because the
oh,
writers' strike killed the 2nd
oh.
season.
Ew. Oh.
But the 1st season alone is worth checking out
We should get AI to do it.
because what you're talking about is kind of AI-ish. It's about what happens. We
It's
run
terrible.
into a
Yeah.
in Gibson's world of The Peripheral, you run into a jackpot,
Uh,
a confluence of nuclear war, virus, something that wipes out a lot of the population.
yeah. Yeah.
But the future learns to send instructions into the past and
Oh.
create stubs, new
Oh.
timelines off
Oh.
the main one. And in
Okay.
the agency, Hillary Clinton wins the election. I haven't read it yet, so I can't
Yeah.
spoiler alert it, but I can tell you that much. It's
Yeah.
a alternative history
Yeah.
as if Hillary had won instead of Trump.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I don't know how things are going to evolve. I keep going out here filming the passing show basically to document it as primary documentation for historians of the future so they might be able
Yeah.
to reconstruct civilization if it ever all
Right.
goes south.
Right.
Or AI can use it, you know.
Yeah, or the virtual reality, it's like now it's like there's nothing there, but you can walk through it like there was.
Right. I plugged in a little picture of myself and my friends
Yeah,
in their post in Augsburg in 2003. I was
yeah.
last time I visited with these guys that I've been graduate students with in Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
And I plugged it into Grok and it animated it for me.
Oh,
Made a little film of us like moving around and it looked very realistic. It was very
uh,
convincing. However, it did change one of my friends radically to look
oh,
very differently than she actually looks.
uh-oh.
So that was kind of interesting.
Sexist. See? Proof of sexism in Grok. Terrible.
I don't know.
Only picked out the woman? Terrible, terrible.
I
I
think it changed
did this.
her boyfriend too a bit,
Yeah,
but it wasn't as pronounced to my
yeah,
eye. But then
yeah,
again, I got a male eye. That's a problem,
yeah.
you know.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, it's like you can we could pick out anything and focus on it and say, "See? That's what's gonna kill us,"
Well, you're talking about the mind-body split that
right?
males particularly have of controlling the body and all that stuff. I mean, it's like, oh, I feel guilty as charged.
No, let's pretend I'm an AI, then I'm just saying, it's like, no, there's no guilt involved, none whatsoever, because
Well, I'm not really feeling guilty.
this is how we work, you
The
know?
point is that I felt that that is accurate. That is actually the experience that a lot of us have. A lot of us have a hard time admitting it, but
Right,
it's
right,
true. We are embodied.
yes.
And, in my Substack description, actually, I think I talk about that I am an imp carried around in the animal that has the label Harold
Yeah,
Bledsoe Gill III
yeah.
on it because my mother was given drugs at birth and not able to protest the naming of her son. Anyway, that
Wait,
happens.
what? And so you get to be Hal.
I got to Hal because I'm the third in a series of Harold B. Gills, and I run
Okay.
the Harold B. Gill
Right,
Foundation
right,
now, LLC. That's what I
right,
do,
right.
which is to preserve and protect all our creative work.
That's right.
My
Yeah.
grandfather was an inventor,
Oh, great.
a la Dick Van Dyke and Shitty Shitty Bang Bang. make things in it. He had electrical engineering, so
Yeah,
he realized, hey, you got this electricity now being out in the hinterlands of Virginia.
right,
People are going to need stuff, and he made things like an electric hacksaw.
right.
Basically, it's just a little Rube Goldberg kind of affair with an
Yeah,
electric motor on it that'll move
yeah,
the hacksaw back and forth, so you don't have to.
yeah.
And I ran
Like
into a guy who
like
has it now.
kinda like we're doing with AI now. It's like,
Yep.
wonder what I can do with this. Yeah.
Yeah, hack it together.
Yeah,
See what happens. And hey, if you all want to experiment with this stuff, there's in our audience,
yeah,
please keep us in the loop. We
yeah,
want to know what you're doing, and if you feel like coming on the show, fine. Kay, do you do
yeah.
podcasting too, or
I do,
live stuff?
regularly.
Okay.
But now that I've seen how easy it is to do this, I may start doing lives because this is super simple. I did a Facebook Live. I had to try 3 times before I finally got it right. I mean, not Facebook, I LinkedIn Live. I won't do Facebook,
Oh,
not on there.
good.
But yeah, so
Mark Zuckerberg just moved in nearby.
Oh,
A few blocks away. He bought a house here. I'm sure he's got a lot of other ones. Jeff Bezos just lives over the hill
yeah, yeah, yeah,
with this double mansion he's got.
right.
It used to be the
Oh, you've got
textile
that
museum.
concentration of power now. I
Yeah,
mean,
the bros are coming.
yeah,
Yeah, the tech bros.
right,
Yeah.
right. AI, it's got you got a seat at the table, so
Well, we're gonna see if we can ride it out and, find out what happens. I need to find a way of, what my next career is gonna be, so I've got a scheduled AI consultancy thing this afternoon. I should be
yeah.
back from estate planning by then,
Yeah.
which I have to get to. So,
Yes.
I will
Yeah.
let you go, and
Alright.
thank you all for joining us. I know
Fun.
I didn't
Yeah,
read all the
thanks, everybody.
comments, but save your comments down if you can, put them in notes, whatever,
Yeah,
and, certainly we'll try to get the transcript out soon. Thanks, Kay.
fantastic. Thank you.
Talk later.
Okay.
Bye.